Hello, my name is Gonçalo Mendes. This is my colleague Vasco Moreira.
Hello, Professor.
And we are the media team for the first European Conference on e-public procurement. So, Professor, you are an economist, a teacher, a speaker, and a writer also. And we are very pleased to be here with you today as you are the co-chairman for the first European Conference on e-public procurement. So, Professor, being an expert on e-public procurement, how do you assess public procurement and the adoption of e-public procurement in Italy?
Well, Italy was at the forefront. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Italy at the forefront of the launch of e-procurement. Imagine that I saw the first auction online, the office of the central purchasing body of Italy in 2002, when the directive was not yet approved. And in a sense, we were doing something illegal because we were doing an e-auction before it was allowed by the directive. But we know that the directives work in this way. They basically change over time. We're going to have a very important change in the EU Public Procurement Directive, I think next year. But they change because some governments are more innovative than others and push for change. At the time, Italy was one of the governments that was certainly more innovative. The European Commission initially was resistant about the concept of e-auctions. At the time, the European Commission was also a little bit perplexed by the issue of central purchasing bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Italy, with a few others, like the UK, in my mind, that forced change. So it is always important to remember that innovation changes the law, and it's not so much the law that takes innovation. I think it's important to remember that the procurement revolution in Italy started a lot because of centralization. It's a very, very strong link, I would say, at the beginning of the state of procurement in a given country, between centralization and procurement. If you have centralization, it's much easier to switch to an e-procurement system because the costs that are involved in buying an e-procurement system are, in a sense, minimized given the size of the organization. So you are more, it's a sort of an amortization of a fixed cost. Imagine you're a little small town and you would like to buy an e-procurement system, you will never do it. It's crazy to do it because it would be very expensive for you. If you have a central purchasing body, obviously the advantages compared to the costs are much higher. The other thing is that so centralization brings e-proc, but it's also true the reverse. What we've noticed is that the ICT revolution has made centralization much easier. We would have never do centralization in the 19th century. Imagine that centralization means that I buy home the goods for Sicily. Well, how do you do it? In the 19th century, you have a guy that takes a horse and takes a request from Sicily to Rome. It's impossible. With the ICT revolution, with internet, it became much easier to communicate between purchasing administration. And so it became more obvious to reach centralization. So two things always self-sustain one another. And in Italy, it was a virtuous process at the beginning. And very hard in my mind to separate centralization from procurement. Mm-hmm. In a sense, you always have to be careful because centralization is a very dangerous thing. Centralization can be a fantastic tool, but for example, the first years in Italy, it was used with too much enthusiasm, like you do with all innovation. And it did basically destroyed for a few years the whole SMEs market for public administration. And in a sense, people started saying, whose fault is it? Is it the fault of centralization or is it the fault of e-procurement? And at the time, the two things were confused. Now we know that you can have procurement and centralization that can help SMEs, but you have to be careful to structure the organization of procurement in a smart way.
So, Professor, how can e-public procurement improve the present situation in Italy? Maybe through savings, through transparency?
Well, once again, but all the things that we say about Italy are relevant worldwide. I am the director today of a master, which will start its international English version next year. But we've been having a very successful master in Italy for 10 years. And at the beginning, the name of master is Master in Procurement Management. 10 years ago, when we started, the master was named Master in Procurement. 10 years ago, there was a big bubble, big fashion about e-procurement. People thought that simply by touching a button, the magic button of IT, the problem of public would disappear. The public e-procurement was the solution. I still remember when I watched an online auction, the first online auction, 2000. There was this price going down, and everybody was looking at the screen and the price was going down, and slowly, little by little, more suppliers left the tender, and at the end there was one winner. When the tender finished, there was this big applause in the room, and everybody was enthusiastic. We thought we had found a way of solving the world of procurement problem. That's it. We had them, and the prior result. We now know that it is not true. We now know that procurement is an important part of a good process, but it certainly goes nowhere without good organization, without good market analysis, without good contract monitoring after the tender has been awarded. We also know, for example, that EOs are not necessarily a good, for example, when you have market and cartel. If there is a cartel with an auction, it's easier to coordinate. You can watch what everybody else is doing, and if they are really fast. So not always procurement leads to good solutions. You need to be smart, and what we see is that we have learned to use the procurement in. So sometimes we are still in the phase of naive enthusiasm about procurement. In Russia, to give you one example, e-auctions are mandatory. E-auctions mandatory are risky. Sometimes it's a thing. E-auctions reveal information. Sometimes it is not. Let me give you another danger that we could have with e-procurement not properly managed. There is a sense in which you have a procurement portal where you provide tons of information for firms and cities. Once again, we have the things of the world. Many organizations claim that Singapore is tantamount to having perfect transparency in public procurement. I disagree with this. It depends on how the portal is organized. Let me give you another example. There were many regions in Russia that were mandated to shift total e-procurement system contained all the information about tenders, very important for firms, and for contracts already signed, which is very important for citizens to monitor what the administration is doing. So it was a good thing. That more than 50% of these regions, at least initially, having all this information stored in the portal, for PC computers, and you have to look through all the tenders of that administration. you lose more time than if you walk to the office and ask for the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Imagine that you're a citizen and you want to know who has been the best in doing tenders for health, and you don't have a search engine in the website. How can you look among all the contracts and find the contracts that you want and compare them? But again, it is a necessary but not sufficient condition. You need more. You need staff. You need competence. You need management. You need skill. Not only that. So I think that we are evolving towards a new stage of the process. I think we need to discuss how the evolution of technology can help even more organizations to do good procurement. I think that every time we have an e-proc solution offered to us, we should immediately ask ourselves how